Welcome to the Science and Spirituality Podcast, where we dive deep into universal spiritual principles and ground them in modern science. My name is Chris Carden.
And my name is Kevin Carden. And we are committed to simplifying the spiritual side of success for you with easy to understand scientific research so you could walk away with practical tools to create radical transformations in your life. Let's get started. So this episode, we're going to take a totally different direction, or at least totally different energy than the first two. And I think it's really like a maturity of how like we're approaching this podcast of just like whatever is coming up and also whatever is suggested, like the topic of this. We don't even thought of a name, honestly, but like, it's just, we're going to just talk. But I got a message on Instagram, which thank you, Peter, if you're listening, about like, how do we deal with anxiety and depression and like the tough stuff in our lives? And like that, I mean, we're all human. So we're all, and not that we're all going to deal with like anxiety and depression, but like, we're all going to deal with tough times. So like, what do we do about it? And so Chris and I, we were literally just talking about this, and like, it sparked an idea for this podcast. So yeah, like for you listening, if you feel like you're struggling right now, like this could be a really powerful episode to listen to. So
Yeah, and I think what it's important to realize is, at least personally for me, feelings of anxiety and depression, the thoughts seem to come like on their own, like from nowhere. Like they'll just pop into your head and you'll kind of get this visceral feeling in your body. And what I've been learning recently is that the body is actually the subconscious mind. And so if you've been through like an event, let's say a trauma, that trauma will create an emotional reaction in your body. And then over time, your body will start to crave the chemical feelings from that emotion. And so if you're going through life and let's say you have a good period of time where you're not anxious or you're not depressed, your body, like your actual body, like all the cells from your neck down will start to crave the chemicals that emotion that you were addicted to previously gave them. And so your body will literally implant images into your mind so that your mind then can start creating pictures. And then those pictures will create a chemical cascade in your body to make you feel that emotion that you were addicted to. And
hold on, before you keep going on, I want to clarify this because I'm curious. Because you're saying it from Dr. Joe Dispenza, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you said like the body then creates the image, like is the body that like affects the mind to like spark a thought, which is like the neurons like to spark like a neuronal connection, like, hey, like let's start that cascade of like emotion or a cascade of chemicals to feel that emotion of like depression, anxiety, or whatever that we haven't had in a while.
Yeah. So
we're saying like the body creates the neurons firing. Right.
So those neurons have already been fired and wired over time because
that makes sense.
Trauma that you've been through.
Yeah.
But we, like humans, remember things and we get conditioned through very powerful emotional experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And those emotional experiences, they create a visceral feeling in your body. And the way we feel emotions is certain chemicals are released in certain places, and then we feel like that's how we feel. And like over time, the body can be conditioned to be addicted to those emotions, that specific amount of chemicals, the specific variety of chemicals that are released to make you feel that. And I mean, we know that the body and the mind are intricately connected. Like there's nerves that run from the mind down to the body, of course, like we know that, but there's also a lot of nerve connections that run from your body up to your mind. And there's this incredible exchange of information that's going on. If you think about like the enteric nervous system, like your gut, literally like gut feelings, there's a bunch of nerve connections from your heart that go up to your brain. And so it's important to realize, like when we're talking about mind-body connection, there's also a body-mind connection. And since the body is the unconscious mind, it tends to be very insidious and can be a lot more powerful than your conscious mind if you're not aware of what's happening. So for people listening, the next time you feel a thought or you feel a feeling and you're wondering where it came from, just be aware that it could be coming from your body, signaling your brain to create a picture so that it can receive some kind of emotional feeling that it's been addicted to.
Mm.
And like when we talk about this too, like the body can't tell the difference between a picture that you imagine and something that's actually happening.
Yeah, true.
And so that's also important to realize too, is that your body is just craving that emotion, and so it's going to do whatever it can to get it, just like someone who's addicted to drugs, you
Mm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
And your body doesn't have a sense of humor. It doesn't matter if the emotion's good or if it's bad.
Just
It's
wants
just
it.
it's going to feel that, it's going to want it. Yeah.
Yeah. So then what do we do about that? Look, when you were sharing that, it popped in my mind because you were saying like the subconscious mind or the body then could be sometimes stronger than the conscious mind because as in like we're not controlling our thoughts. Like we're
Mhm.
not having like our hand on the wheel of our conscious mind, which is it's really fascinating experience. Like I feel like we've all had that experience. I know I have. Even being a coach, like I am still subject to the challenges of this because I'm a human. I'm not a robot or superhuman, and you're neither are you, Chris, or neither is
Mhm.
anyone listening. So like to be humble to that, I think is like a really important point, and noticing what you're noticing, like
Yeah.
that tool that we've learned from Mary Morrissey of like some people also call it the observer effect. People who meditate, it's like the experience you have of watching your thoughts and watching your feelings and like your body, but you're not that. And
Mhm.
to me, that's where the spirituality comes into all this science, that we are the spirit. And so relating more with the spirit than our mind, our conscious mind or anything like that is, for me, this is just from my experience, how I started to gain more control of that is like just practicing that. And it's challenging because it takes time.
Mhm.
It's got to, like, otherwise like it's not gonna have a long lasting stand. In fact, I have a quote on my wall in my office: stand guard at the portal of your mind. So it's like you the person are standing guard in your mind. You're
Mhm.
not the mind.
Mhm.
And I think it's just, I wanted to point that out. But like I think something that is like an underlying like theme of this episode, but I wanted to like say it like out loud, like so that people can consciously really get this, is that like you and I, Chris, are not anyone special. Like
Mhm.
us, just because we could talk about this stuff doesn't mean that we're perfect at it all the time.
Mhm.
And I think that's really important because we can get this idea that like, oh, I'm so flawed because I failed at this, or like I let my pattern rule me or anything like that. Like it's, yeah, just being compassionate to yourself,
Mhm.
I think is really important, and giving yourself some love, like, not beating yourself up, because then you just go further down the spiral.
Yeah. I think it's like an exercise in awareness and then perception.
Yeah.
If you're aware of what's going on, then you can choose how you want to perceive it. And just
Hmm.
because you're struggling in life at certain things, like when you're aware that, sometimes it's your biology and physiology like working against you, then when you become aware of that fact, you're like, okay, maybe I'm not crazy. Maybe there is something here that
Yeah.
maybe I'm just not conscious of. And then you become
Mm.
conscious of it, you become aware of it, and then you can change your perception about it. And you'd be like, okay, like now that I'm in the driver's seat, like how can I fix this? How can I move forward from this?
Yep.
And I think it was really awesome what you mentioned before about like the science and spirit, like,
Hmm.
and you just got to think that when thoughts come into your head, or let's say the subconscious creates thoughts that because it wants you to think those thoughts, you still have the ability as spirit to decide whether or not you want to go down those thought trains in your mind.
Yeah.
And what you need to realize from a biological and physiological perspective is that thoughts that you think over and over again become more hardwired and easily fired in your brain. So there's a concept in neuroscience called Hebb's law, and it's basically states that it's like how neurons organize themselves.
Mm.
And the more you think about something, the easier it becomes for you to think about that thing. So if we think about it, if you constantly go down thought trains of, let's say, anxious feelings or depressed feelings or whatever kind of feelings, you're creating that neural circuitry to think those thoughts. And then when you think those thoughts, that neural circuitry then releases certain chemicals in your body, and then so you feel a certain emotion. And so your spirit's actually, it has the ability to direct your biology and your physiology to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we need to kind of get in between that and realize what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really getting in touch with just your spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
And so one thing that you could do, and this is why your work with dream building is so important, is when you design a life that you'd really love to live, and then you start to feel emotionally into that new life, you're sending signals to your subconscious, which is your body, that there's different emotions you can feel. And if you do that enough times with enough emotional impact, your body will then start sending signals to your brain because it's craving those new emotions now instead of the old ones. So if you can get so involved with the dream or so involved with the vision that your body, your subconscious already knows what the feelings are going to feel like,
mm-hmm.
then when you're going throughout your day and you're not thinking about your dream, your body's going to send signals to your brain, pictures of your dream, and be like, hey, we're addicted to those emotions now. Like, let's create that image so that we can feel it. And
Yeah.
then you start becoming a new person. You start, living from a future vision. You start to reorganize your brain for something you want to bring about in the future, not something that you've already been through in the past. Because we're conditioned by things in the past. Like that's how our minds get conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
But when you realize that you can set up a future that you'd love to live and love to live from, you can start to like reverse that process and change your physiology, change the neural structure of your brain to look like the thing you're thinking about and the thing that you want to bring about has already happened, like physically in you already.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love the way you explain it. That was very clear. And so thank you. Cause like this is just how I've seen like us in our podcast is like, you're the science of it, I'm the spirituality of it. Although we both have that like flip flopped as well, as in like you have a spiritual base as well. And I have a scientific based background as well, but like more heavily, like what we're more focused on, what we more are in love with, so I appreciate you for explaining that because like, I'm just thinking now like, damn, like, wow, like I actually do that with my clients. I didn't know the science behind that, like the physiological changes that happen. Like I was aware of like, neuroplasticity and all that, but like of like how that connection and like the craving of it, I love that idea. Which makes really powerful that you can like use your physiological responses or physiological nature or the biology to work for you, for your dream, not against you.
Yeah, and in the absence of giving your brain new thoughts and your body new emotions, you tend to think within the neural structure of your brain, and you tend to feel chemically within the boundaries of your body. You're stuck in this box that you think is you. Because again, if you're not thinking about future events and you're not thinking about something you want to bring about in the future, your mind's a record of the past. The neural structure currently in your brain, if you've never done any visioning work or future work, is a record of the past. So you're going to think similar thoughts to what you thought about in the past. And because thoughts trigger emotions, you're going to feel the same emotions. And then you're going to go throughout your life wondering why things aren't changing for you. It's because your mind and your body are running on programs from the past. So how are things going to change if you're continuing to run the same programs over and over again from the past? And so that's why I think dream building and visioning work is so important, because it provides your brain with a new map. And then over time, it starts to literally restructure it. And then when your brain gets restructured, you literally feel different emotions, because those neural patterns and neural structures will release, certain chemicals and make different emotions. So it's really important.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, I like this episode. It was like a kind of like a jolt, even though like I was saying, like the energy is a bit different in this one, but like a lot of powerful ideas. Now, personally, I just want to end it here just so like it could be this short for people to like just consume and then go forward with. So like, all right, now build a dream, like build an image in your mind of like what you would love, write it down even, and start relating with that, as in like start visualizing that as if it's real, and imagine what it would feel like and start feeling those emotions and do your best at it, because it's challenging. It's heck of hard in the beginning because you have the, like the opposite or not the opposite, but like the emotions and the neurological connections that are not the future or not in alignment with the future. So like it's going to take some work, but it's so worth it. I mean, you and I have changed our lives because of that. And we're still doing that.
And we're still in the process of learning
Yeah.
and going deeper into this work, because there's like I think you said earlier, well, maybe I was listening to an interview you were doing. You were saying that it's like deceptively simple.
Yeah.
Because when you understand what's going on, you're like, oh yeah, I intellectually understand this. But then if you're not, like you said, guarding, guarding the
standing guard at the portal of your mind.
You're not standing guard at the portal of your mind all the time, which is to be in that level of awareness and consciousness can be tiring sometimes, especially when you're getting signals from your body to think in the past and be like, yo, what's going on? Like, how come we're not feeling certain emotions? Like, I want to feel them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just continually like doing our best each day and moving forward with that. And then I think having an understanding of the biology and the physiology of it is, really help.
Yeah, definitely. And you said like we're doing our best. Just thinking that video at Dream Mother Live. Give me your best.
Yeah.
That's a great video from, I think it's Facing the Giants movie. So just for listeners, there's just a funny scene. Inside joke. We can leave it at that.
Yeah.
Unless you've been at Dream Builder. Anyway, yeah, let's cap it there. I think it's solid. So go take action, people, and see you soon.
That's it for today. So thanks for tuning in, and we really hope you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as we enjoyed recording it. So any questions, any comments, just connect with us on Instagram. You could always DM us at Kevin Francis Carton
and at Chris J. Carton. And also, if you feel guided to, the one thing we do ask is for you to please rate the podcast and leave us a review. This way we can reach more people and impact more lives with this amazing information. With that, we'll see you on the next episode.